How are you? This is so exciting already. Hello, hello, hello. Core Bob, I'm totally not procrastinating on finding a job. Sure you aren't. Good luck. Hi everybody. Wow, so many people. Hello, hello, hello. I'm really glad that the sun is finally starting to kind of come out in Seattle. It was just I was in a dark cave all morning and it was all dark and gloomy, but now we actually have some sun because I don't have any fancy lighting right now. Thanks, fam. Hello, hello. Oh, Spara's here. Oh, everybody's here. Simina's here. Good times. Yeah, Seattle weather. It is not that exciting. From Mexico. Wow. A 30 plus code review. Is it 30 plus lines? Hours? What plus what? What are the units of that code review? The days truly are merging lately. The past couple weeks have been going so fast. It's nuts. Different glasses. Oh yeah, I don't normally wear glasses on the stream. I don't have good vision, and I've been wearing the contacts the past few days, so I decided to glasses it up lately. Yeah, hello. Wow, Uganda. Oh, 30 plus files. Yeah, that's a long one. What was the jam playing on the waiting music? Honestly, I don't know. I so in Vado Elements, if you look them up, they do like free things that you can get every month, and I always get it because I'm like, hey, you never know if you'll need background music or a WordPress template or something. I have never used the WordPress templates, but I got the music from there, and it's a good little jam, and so that's what the music is. Hi, Vishwars. Thank you very much. Yeah, I do like the large frames. I found some really cute ones, but I have a really big head and they're like this wide. So I need to find some nice cute frames that are this wide. I want to get more green glasses. I like my green glasses. Yep, Charmander. I took Charmander's mask off and used it as my own. So Charmander is back. Yeah, you can see Charmander. There he is. I'm back now. Wow, from Egypt. Argentina. Whoa. You're learning about states in React right now. Ooh. Let me know if you need help. Still no affiliate. I know. I just missed affiliate by like a few hours last month, and now I'm like, I have to start all over in August. But that's okay. If you genuinely would like to throw money, I have a Patreon. I should have made that a chat command. I added chat commands this time, and so you can see things now. But patreon.com/cassidoo. It's a fun group. Watch out, they will blow up your notifications on Discord, but it's worth it. You'll get to find out your Harry Potter house. What did I do for chat commands? So I wrote them down in the About section literally like 3 minutes before this started. And I just use Streamlabs, and with Streamlabs you can just say, hey, these are the chat commands I want, and paste in text. I know that there is a smarter way to do it where you can do some like fancy stuff. I just haven't, but I know you can. But yeah, those are the things I'm using. Wow, look at you. Oh, I'm glad that the commands are useful for people. But yeah, these are my chunky headphones. They're nice and open backed, and so if Joe is sneaking up on me, I know he's coming. You finally fully understand use reducer. Oh, yay! Oh, I'm so glad. That is awesome. Oh my gosh, you got 380 worth of mechanical keyboard components for your first board? Oh my gosh. Gee whiz. That's a big one. I'm glad you have the rendezvous. Do I have any good places and resources to start learning TypeScript? Not really. I recommend Scrimba has some good stuff. I teach on Scrimba, and Scrimba's pretty good. They have some TypeScript courses. I don't use TypeScript, so it's hard for me to say. A lot of people like the docs, honestly, though. Oh, it's not your first board, but your first build. That makes a little more sense, but that's still a lot. I'm excited to see what you make. But yeah, this keyboard is accurate for the board I'm using today. You're right, I should make it some kind of array command so you can see the different ones. But also, again, because I moved, a lot of my keyboards are still in storage until things are settled. We find out today if our place sells, so fingers crossed. My teeth are too white. Is that a thing? I just brush them. Use some Colgate. What would I recommend a React intern to do as a sample project? I would do something that can query an API. Like find a weather API and make a weather app or something, and make someone be able to put in like a zip code. So something where you can have user input and query external data. I think that's a really good one for an intern level project. You bought 110 holy pandas? Nice. I got my holy pandas in the mail. La 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 la. I'm so excited. Of course, I don't have a board to put them on right now, but I will eventually. You brush your teeth? It's true. Let's see. Oh, the Moonlander. That looks like a cool keyboard. That'll be great. Any resources for learning to brush teeth? I'm pretty sure there's some child's TV show for that. Let's see. Oh yeah, Pokemon app. Good call. Yeah, that's querying an API. That's basically what we're doing here. We're getting user data and querying an API. Trying to learn Reason ML. It seems to be a great combination. It does. I haven't used it myself, but it's pretty cool. What's my daily routine at work? It depends. This week in particular has been a lot of meetings. Like I've just had tons and tons and tons of meetings. And go to meetings, code, sometimes write blog posts. I have this one project that I signed myself up for it, and it's really big, and it's all by myself. And so as I work on it, it just kind of feels endless because I'm working on it alone, and I set my own deadlines, and so my motivation is trash right now. But anyway, my routine at work is basically like coding and writing things, and then filling other times with meetings, and sometimes writing. So sometimes speaking at things, like I spoke on someone else's stream this morning, sometimes doing podcast stuff, that sort of thing. Do I sell keyboards? I don't yet. There's some things in the works. We'll see when that happens, though. Oh, dang, you got some fancy stuff, customer support MK. Do I have the headphone upgrade itch? No, I don't want to get more. I have a nice stack. I have these, and I have a few others, and I don't want to get more. These ones in particular I like because they're really comfy with glasses. I also have some like Sennheiser open back ones, like the SXX or something, 6XX. I don't know, it's hard to say. And like some Sony noise canceling ones. I have enough headphones. I don't need more, and I'm very purposely not trying. I don't want to become an audiophile because that is just dangerous. Daily routine starts by brushing the teeth. How am I able to fit streaming into the middle of the day with work? I set a calendar invite, and luckily my team is really good about obeying calendar things when setting up meetings and stuff. And so as long as the time is set aside, it usually isn't too interrupted. Did I do the GitHub profile thingy that everyone else is doing? Oh, like the GitHub README? I did, but mine's not that exciting. It just says like, hello nerds, this is me. Bye. Like it's not that good. Your motivation for personal projects is, yeah, I know. It's hard. Personal projects are tough, especially. What was up with that actual meeting where I did the in that video I did? That one was actually, it was our team recording a podcast, and then we were talking about stuff afterwards, and I told them that I wanted to film a video, and so they should keep talking as usual, but I would probably be interrupting them. And that's what happened there. Saludos desde Mexico. Wow, yay. Or Mexico, I guess. I always pronounce it wrong because English and Spanglish. Recommendations for improving writing skills? Honestly, just keep writing. What I did when I was trying to improve my writing skills a while back is I would come up with writing prompts. And first of all, on Reddit, there's tons of writing prompts. Like there's a subreddit called Writing Prompts where you can practice writing with those. And then also a really simple writing prompt for yourself is to like go to Wikipedia and choose a random page and then write something related to that page. And that's how I used to practice writing. Yeah. Rosario, Argentina. Wow. How's my week in general? I'm so busy. I've had so many meetings. I'm so tired. I admit I've considered just making this a chatting stream and not a coding stream because I am so tired, but we'll see how this goes. How often is it that senior level developers Google JavaScript object method objects when they're filtering JSON? All the time. Constantly. What's being built in the background? I don't know. I hear him using some tools and stuff, but I don't know what he's doing. Joe, what are you drilling? Or is it a blender? Oh, his headphones are on now. He can't hear me. We'll never know. Is there such thing as a starter mech keyboard kit? Yes. There's a few good ones. And actually the drop enter is a really good one. I don't know if it's still on sale right now though. I should become an audiophile. I shouldn't become an audiophile. I have too many hobbies. I've always had trouble with coming up for projects. It's never an app or anything for me. It's something game related. Yeah, for sure. Usually, hi Anna Codes. I typically, there's a subreddit called Somebody Make This, and that's what I kind of do to start brainstorming ideas. How to keep motivated when having to write a backend with Ruby on Rails? Can't really relate. Monterey, cool. I haven't done Ruby on Rails in a while. I can't help with that specific technology stack and motivation. What audio interface is the Yeti hooked up to? I'm sorry, it's not fancy. I can't show it. I'm afraid to move my camera right now. This is truly just a mic stand, and it's USB into the... It's not even USB into the computer. It's USB into the monitor, and then the monitor is connected to the computer. This is not a fancy setup. Let's see, do I have a video or blog on my hardware setup? I don't. Should I? I don't have a very fancy setup. Like, there's the camera and the mic and keyboard. That's about it. I can tell you about it, though, if you want. Let's see. Regarding headphones, you recently got the Skull Candy Crusher. Fun. Thoughts on keycap sets for split ortho keyboards? I have an Iris, but I can't find a set I like. You know, SA Oblivion is back on drop, and that's actually what I have on this board. I have the monochrome one, and the Numro is something I added myself, but I really love this this keycap set. I think it's so classy. I was definitely thinking about buying more of them and just doing like a different color scheme or something. Let's see. Yeah, I do have command set up. Heyo. I am using a standing desk. It's a fully Jarvis. I should have listed that, shouldn't I? I haven't stood very much in this new apartment though, because because this place is temporary, I kind of just shoved wires in everywhere. If anybody saw my cable management right now, you'd be upset. I know that because it upsets me. But anyway, I haven't actually tried making this stand since moving to this apartment because I'm afraid of just unplugging everything or ruining something. See, sometimes I get to a point where I don't know what to add to my web app, so you just keep testing it. Yeah, I mean, that's where user testing is useful. Have someone play with your app and then just see what they think. For sure. You like GMK? Yeah, GMK is really pretty too. I have GMK Oblivion as well. I love that color scheme. You've been ending all of your meetings the way you saw in that video? Oh no, I love it. Oh, we got some French in there. Tous les corps sauces de tête. I can't speak French. My wife got upset when she heard my Ergodox had blank keycaps. Oh no. Hi, William. My favorite switches? I really like Xylence. I got these Holy Pandas though, so I'm really curious to see how they go, because they're very hyped. But I really like Xylence. Those are definitely my favorites. From Brazil, wow. Obrigada. Sea or mountains? Mountains. I like mountains. Well, the sea is nice. Water's nice. I like swimming and stuff. But also, the mountains are pretty. I like looking at the mountains more than the water. Let's see, I want to build an iris later. I wasn't sure about the plate, though. Oh, yeah, I actually laser cut my own plates because I also could not decide. Nice try for the French accent. Yay! Oui, oui. Croissant. That's all I got. Another Brazilian here, too. Wow. What chair am I using? This is a Steelcase Leap. I originally had a gaming chair, and it was fine. It got the job done, but I wanted something a little bit more ergonomic and stuff, and so that's how I ended up getting this one. And I like it. It's comfy. It's pricier than I would have liked, but I've told myself it's better to have a better chair for your back now than to have to pay for back surgery later. What did I do the time I spent in Spain? I was studying there. I studied in Cáceres. I was studying Spanish, actually, and then I snuck into computer science classes while I was there as well. The best gaming chairs are not gaming chairs. I know. Yeah, I kind of, again, I like the gaming chairs a ton, but because I think they look really cool. Like, honestly, the chair I have right now is pretty boring, but it's so dang comfortable. So I get it. Let's see. Do I code on a second monitor? Yeah, so I have two monitors here. One is a BenQ 27-inch, and then the other one is an LG 27-inch. I don't know the types off the top of my head. I can look them up. And I think, what is the resolution of my monitors? I should know this off the top of my head. I'm sorry, I don't. I'm looking it up right now. System, display. The resolution is 3840 by 2160. That's what I got for you. Yeah, pricier than I would have liked. Builds another keyboard instead. True. Let's see. Yeah, the chair is a Steelcase Leap. Yes, no, I liked that Steelcase had color options. I really like having red, or I was deciding between red and like a lime green, kind of like the green on the confetti things on the background of this stream. I love that color green. Gaming chairs are comfy for a while, and then when you're remote working for a really long time and you're spending more than just like a gaming session on a chair, that's when it starts to not be super comfy. I am still taking Pokemon Go friend requests. DM me. Yeah. You've switched to a 3-monitor setup. Wow. Yeah, I know. There's so many. There's so, like, this is plenty for me. I could see it being fun having another monitor, but for what? Although I've always like dreamt of being surrounded by monitors like some cool kid. What was my resolution of my New Year's? Travel. Let's see, what's my internet speed? Not as good as it was in my previous place. This place, I could speed test it. I'll do it later. My internet speed's okay. I know that we had a gig at my old place and I was on Ethernet and stuff, but I don't have that luxury here, sadly. You have an orange Steelcase? Ooh, pretty. If I had a dedicated website as a Twitch streamer and content creator, what would you include in it? I'm thinking about building one as a project for the portfolio. Oh, that's a good idea. Well, I would have like an frequently asked questions section, because I do get a lot of the same questions and like what the setup is, which is why I added the commands and that sort of thing. But I don't know, what else would the website have? I guess a link to the stream or a video streaming thing, and I'd have to think about it. Maybe projects that I've done. Your chiropractor urged you to get a nice chair. Nice. Oh, I've heard the Herman Miller Embody is really comfy. If you're a good runner, you spend money on good shoes. If you're a nerd, you spend money on your chair and desk. That's true. Mega desk. Let's see, get a vertical monitor. Yeah, this monitor on the side was vertical, and I actually have one extra one that's smaller that I was thinking about setting up, but we'll see. What are my thoughts on having a large monitor split into multiple separate ones? I mean, I have like the 2 separate monitors, but meanwhile, my husband Joe has a mega, like, whoa, sorry, smacked that, like 36-inch curved one. That one's way too big for me. And plus I'm afraid of breaking it. I like the idea of having multiple, so if you mess up one of them, it doesn't totally destroy your whole thing. But that's because I'm a klutz, as you can see. You've used 4K TVs as monitors? Dang! That's wild. You follow my work on Netlify, yay! Can I recommend any channel of web development in Mexico? I can't, but I know there are some. I like Techeria, but you know, techaria in my English accent. It's I really like seeing that because there's a lot of like Spanglish content and stuff. What's important for a DevX resume and portfolio? So this one, I wasn't going to publicize it too much because we have a lot of applications. We're hiring on the DevX team at Netlify. If you go to netlify.com/jobs, you can apply. What we're looking for, though, read the description. In this case, we're really looking for someone who fits the description. There's a lot of people who are applying who don't. We're looking for someone who can do React and Next.js and who has a lot of involvement with the open source community. And so we really want to see, maybe not like a crazy green graph on GitHub, but interaction with the dev community and working with open source and stuff. Let's see. Logitech made the Embody super cheap. Oh yeah, I saw that. Is this headphone good for someone with glasses? Yes. That's why I like these headphones, because they're great with glasses. You see me on Twitter. What? I definitely don't post memes constantly. You got a 43-inch monitor? That's nuts. How hard is it to learn how Webpack and Babel work? It's not too hard if you're willing to just really go under the hood. I recommend really understanding what the abstract syntax tree means. I think that's really important. Are there any Rust jobs? No. Do I speak Spanish? Si. Does Netlify hire overseas? Yes. We're a remote company. Do I work for Netlify? Indeed I do. I should put that in my bio there. When are applications open till? Until we find someone to fit the job. Yeah, memes. Q&A session, love it. Nice. You're building something special. A John Wick educational platform. What does that mean? I'm very curious what that means. I think links are still blocked in the chat, but you can space out the URL or whatever. I have not used GPT-3. I tweeted about it and it was a joke. If you look at the code pen, it is attached. Favorite switches, I mentioned it earlier, it's Xylence. A DevX role? DevX role, it varies depending on the company. For us, it's a big combination of coding, of writing blog posts, of speaking on podcasts, of basically just kind of spreading the word. You can build all of this stuff with this technology stack and host it on Netlify, that kind of stuff. We also, on our particular team, we have a rotation with the product engineering team at Netlify, where we actually work on the product itself, and then we bring that knowledge to our team, explain how it works, and then we all rotate doing things. Ooh, yeah, Ximena has Spanish content stuff. Are there any Vue jobs coming down the pipe at Netlify? Someday. Not for a little while, though. You should put a list of Spanish devs. I think that would be great. We're very React heavy. A bunch of the stuff that we're hiring for is very React heavy. Let's see. You can do the headphone command to find out the headphones. Sorry, I'm kind of skimming through really fast. Lots of questions. Why do you use front end for the front end? Why not use a C++ content generator? That sounds like a nightmare to me. The rotational sounds interesting. Yeah, it really is. I should have mentioned the tidbit about my favorite switches before I ordered the pandas. Oh, but pandas are cool too. I have pandas. Pandas. I'm very excited to play with them. Should I use Netlify? Yes, please. Make this stream be allowed to be during work hours. Do myself or my husband ever quote my memes? Not really, actually. We quote other people's memes more than my own. Why do you use React for the front end? Use it? No, still no C++. That's one thing that I want to vow to myself. I will never write C++ again. I did not enjoy it. Any tips for a fresh graduate starting a professional career? I think it depends on what you want. But for someone that generally wants to go a similar path as me, I say try to learn in public and be as vulnerable as possible publicly as you're learning and stuff, because as you do that, you kind of build a personal brand publicly that employers are interested in, and people want to see genuine people working on their team. Redux Saga or Apollo Client? Apollo Client. I think Apollo is awesome. Best thing about Netlify? I just love all the tools built into it. Honestly, my favorite thing is the redirects, and it sounds very lame to love redirects, but they're sick. Because with Netlify redirects, what you can do is like you can make your own URL shortener by just having a script running on the rules, and you can point different things to all sorts of things, and you can have rule-based access control. And so like if someone goes to your website from a specific region of the world, you can render a different website as a result. I think the redirects in Netlify is a very underappreciated, powerful tool. Oh, you're learning React coming from iOS. Nice. Give a shout out to my dog, Sir Woofs-a-lot. Hello, Sir Woofs-a-lot. Any pointers for someone trying to learn C++? Ha! Pointers! I get that reference. I never want to write that again. When did I start streaming? I've actually streamed for quite a while, but I started regularly streaming within the past month or two. Serious question now, React or Vue? I personally like writing React, but Vue is very nice. Depends on your preferences. I've learned that the correct answer to most tech questions is it depends. I set up a Netlify account because of his stream. Yay! I can tell my boss. What do I suggest for foreigners looking to work in the US or Europe front end or back end? Which one is more needed? They're both needed. It's hard to say. There's so many remote companies though. I think even like remote.com is a website for that. You met me at Montreal. You met my sister in Montreal. I actually never went to Montreal for Clarify, but my sister did. Easy mistake. I'll tell her you said hi, Woozy. Let's see, tea or coffee? Tea. You love redirects. Yes, I think it's super cool. And then Netlify forms are really nice too because you don't have to set up a backend to collect form responses and parse them and stuff. Any tips for a new streamer? Just start. My stream has been anything but perfect, but the more you go, the more you can refine. If you keep trying to make it perfect at first, then you'll never start. If I'm going to start with a React framework, should I look at Next.js or Gatsby? It's hard to say. I've been kind of going all in on Next. Some of the decisions they make, I'm not a huge fan of, but Gatsby also makes decisions that I do like more and then don't like for other things. So it varies. Are we hiring for data analysts? I don't know, check the website. I only know about the front end roles. How do I make the most of manager one-on-ones? I try to ask if my manager has feedback for me on my performance or anything that I can improve as often as I can. Do I have a YouTube channel? I technically do. It's just me posting these videos, and then I have one from my past where it's me doing stupid stuff. But, you know, I don't have a background in acting. I have a background in computer science. Let's see. This is actually Cassidy's sister streaming right now. No! How much time do I spend daily on my social media presence? Honestly, not much. Less than an hour a day. Use Streamloots. Oh, I haven't heard of that. Do you think a European Bachelor of Science can get a FANG internship? Yes, I think you can. And plus, they hire in Europe very easily and often. I'd like to ask you, is there a way to evaluate or test someone's JavaScript knowledge like language tests? Do you want me to show you the pandas again? Later. Language tests. There's a lot of tests out there. I don't have the URLs at the top of my head, but I know that there are quizzes and stuff that you can take. Does Netlify do kickback referrals? Oh, like referring someone as an employee? They do, but like we don't as employees get anything from it. It's just something that we can do. I think there's a referral link I can generate, but I can't on this computer because I need to be authenticated with my work computer. So, DM me. Who are my favorite coders? They're all my favorite. Well, I like so many different coders. I can't just say who are my favorites. There are a lot of people who are great. Do I speak other languages? Espanol. And I try to learn Korean, but Korean is very difficult. I just know various words like mul and ibul. And by the way, that's water and blanket. I wasn't meaning to call myself a wet blanket there, but I think I just did. Gosh darn it. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Your manager usually says everything's going great, but then my performance rating is average. Yeah, then I would ask your manager, hey, what can I do to get to the next level? Let's see. Is there a URL that would get me cash or kudos? No, we don't do those kinds of referrals, sadly. If only I could get cash for referrals, I would be going ham trying to get them. I mean, I still want to get good people, but you know. Have I updated Jest and then my test started failing? Yes, but it's been a little while since I've done that, and I'm sorry that you're having to deal with that. What questions will be asked during the interview process at Netlify, and what are the answers? I know that there's usually a recruiter screen, then a hiring manager screen, then you talk with various members of the team about various technical things. Then it's one more manager screen and recruiter screen. It's like a sandwich. And it varies from team to team what questions you're asked. Any tips on creating a good social media presence? Consistency and being genuine. All companies have referrals. Yeah, no, I can refer people. It's just one of those things where I wouldn't get fame and glory for doing so. Is it very important to have a computer science degree, or self-taught developers appreciated too? Everyone's appreciated. My boss, she has an art degree. It depends on what works for you, really. Where am I from? I'm from Chicago. Let's see. Hello, who are my favorite singers? Whitney Houston, Jennifer Hudson. Do I listen to music while I code? Sometimes when I want to get in the zone and bop around. Do I prefer the sound and feel of my Xylem switches lubed or unlubed? I have both. And honestly, they kind of feel the same, which I can't tell if that just means it's a bad lube job or what. Hello, good evening. You want to learn Spanish? I learned Spanish best when I was immersed in it and I didn't get to speak English. I loved living in Spain for that. Have I heard about that startup that's giving Teslas for successful recommendations? Oh, man. I'd take that, honestly. Is learning just mandatory for unit testing? No, there's so many different testing libraries. But honestly, just learn the theory behind testing, because then Jest, React Testing Library, Mocha, Jasmine, all these different things, it's just syntax. Would I get to work with you if I get hired at Netlify? If you're hired on my team, yes. If you're hired on the front-end team, sometimes. If you're hired on the back-end team, you'll see me on some large meetings. What is the React lifecycle? Oh, we can get into this if you want. Long story short, mounting, rendering, updating, unmounting. That's it. Why did I get into coding? I liked the idea of building things. I really like the idea of being able to build things and share it with other people. And Legos are great, but I can't necessarily share that with my grandma or someone, but I can give her a URL. So, yeah. How do you learn publicly to make sure others know your presence? Write about it, blog about it, share about it, speak about it, make videos about it. Post places. You can post in so many different places as long as you share it somewhere. Let's see. You're Spanish. Hey-o. Cool. Oh, thanks for thinking I'm wholesome. I'm a whole human. Let's see. Do I use test-driven development? When I do back-end programming, I do, yes. Where about in Spain did I live? I lived in Cáceres, which was great because my university had a relationship with them. But if I were to live there full-time, I would probably live in Madrid or Seville. Madrid or Sevilla. They're beautiful. I love them. Do I write tests first? Again, when I do back-end, yes, I do. React Lifecycle Deep Dive might be cool. Yeah, I can do that sometime. What are my favorite books? I like mystery books and kind of like whodunit books. I think those ones are so fun. Humor books are always great, but they tend to be very light. I like just getting deep in it, and I really like those dystopian type books, like Hunger Games style. Oh, those are great. Although I started reading this one book called Vox, and I'm looking at it, staring at it in front of me. I can't get through it because it's a little so dystopian that the world right now, it's rough. It's a little too sad right now. It feels a little dystopian right now. If you send me a Bitcoin, will you send us double the Bitcoin back? Sure. Hooks make it so we don't have to worry about the lifecycle often. Well, you should still know the lifecycle, especially with use effect. but you don't have to know like the methods of the life cycle or anything. You should still understand how it works though. We got a bunch of Espanol, but I'm not going to speak in it because I want it to be accessible to everyone. Serious question. What do you think of automated UI testing? I think that, what is it called? Cypress. Cypress is awesome for that. I loved setting up Cypress. It felt very like jQuery like when I was setting it up and everything. I set it up for CodePen actually when I was working there. But it's awesome. Being able to create suites of automated UI testing and then go navigating through integration testing like that, I think it's great. I like about the freedom to create what you think when you're coding. Yeah, it's great. And same thing with music. Yeah. Sometimes my music definitely affects how I code. Do I test in production? There was an old programmer I knew always said there's no test like production. It's true. There were definitely times, especially when I was at CodePen, we were like converting the site to React and all kinds of stuff. It was very fun when we were just like, we think we've tested all of this. The ultimate test is to just push it live and see what users say, because they'll find all of the bugs. Favorite devs on Twitter? There's so many. It's hard to say. There's a lot of great ones. I don't want to name one because then it'll just end up I'll miss others. There's a lot of great ones, so I tend to retweet the ones I like. Session or JWT? JWT. I think that is kind of the future. I started learning how to Go. What tips would you give to a beginner? Get a teacher. Even if it's just an online class that you can contact out, I think that's really, really useful for learning, because then you can ask questions that you'd normally get stuck on. Could I quiet down? My 8-year-old can't hear her videos. Oh, sorry, 8-year-old. Do I ever use context for state management? Yes, I prefer it, actually. Is it tough being vulnerable on social media? Yes. It's very tough, and it's something that I kind of had to force myself to do, and it's a bit more natural for me now, but it's tough because sometimes you say something and like sometimes you do it in the form of a joke. For example, I did a video about reply guys somewhat recently where it was just about how I post something on the internet and then there's a ton of people going like, well, actually, and being rude and stuff on the internet. The hate that I got for that tweet. Like, grand majority was positive, but man, people were just downright cruel to me and saying very, very unkind things. And so it's, in that regard, it can be tough because the internet isn't always a nice place. That being said, you gotta brush it off sometimes, because the people who choose to be mean on the internet, something's wrong with them and it has nothing to do with you. Do I recommend for company for pre-built mechanical keyboards? Drop.com and mechanicalkeyboards.com. How do I cope with the anxiety to post things you've made? Just do it, and if people don't like it, oops. You just kind of gotta get over it and know that it's just something that you can't do. I went to Spain last year and my favorite place was Bilbao. Oh, I haven't been to Bilbao yet. I really want to though. The food there looks incredible. I did go like all around though. Cypress is super cool. Suspense and React. Yeah, suspense is a whole other world. I'm not going to get into suspense, and I'll keep you in suspense. Is this the Fortnite stream? Not this time. How important is knowing mathematics and physics and coding? I think it's helpful to know at times. There have definitely been times where I'm doing math, and I'm just like, dang, this is getting back into the recesses of my brain. But it really depends on what you're coding on. If you're coding on games, yes, you need to know math and physics. It's really, really important. If you're using something else, you might use it, you might not use it. Use effect is the bane of my existence. I love hooks, but my beautiful classes are gone. I can explain them if you want. I can spend some time talking about it. I love talking about use effect. Pancakes or waffles? Waffles. What kind of music do I listen to while coding? Depends on my mood. A lot of times, I have like a Broadway show tunes playlist where it's just like belting and getting into the music, and then I also have like a chill beats type of playlist. You know what's an excellent soundtrack? The Big Little Lies soundtrack, like the TV show. It's very, very chill. I have this playlist that I call Code on the Beach, where it's truly just the Big Little Lies soundtrack plus a few extras, where it's just chill music. I think it's great. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with the chat. How have my experiences been at Netlify? Great. The people there are super, super kind. I love working there. What are some of the challenges I've faced? I think like getting my mind wrapped around some of the architecture decisions internally, and then yeah, just kind of getting used to a bigger company again too, because I've worked at some dang small companies, less than 10 people over the past couple years. Um, I'm reading the Spanish, but I'm not going to read it because you're having a whole separate conversation. But I like that where it's going, and I hope you make it a thing. Why hire bug testers when you can do it for free? Heyo. Do I still use Redux? No. When I deploy a Next.js site, is Netlify Next.js cache plugin necessary? No, you don't have to. Do I play any games? I love playing Fortnite. I like playing Civ. I really like Stardew Valley. Roller Coaster Tycoon. Thank you for liking my videos. Do I feel judged as a woman in technology? All the time. Do I have any difficulties based on my gender? Indeed. Sorry for keeping it short. Again, I'm scrolling past. Redux versus context. Use context. Can your social media help you get a good job as a software developer? Yes, if you're consistent. Would you explain use effect? Yes, I will. Waffles are the best. Hooray. Thanks for tips on social media. Yes, consistency and being genuine. And new and interesting experimental stuff coming along in React. Blocks is coming. Oh, and you just said I saw stuffs about blocks. Yeah, it's coming. Nothing particularly fancy about that though. Would I use effect in my next video? What effect would I use? Huh. Well, I have an effect on people. Why would I use Netlify over Vercel for Next.js? So they both can do the same thing. Vercel is definitely like they build Next.js, and so they have some things built in right away. But I would still choose Netlify, not necessarily because I work there, because I do, but I like the extra things that Netlify provides. The fact that split testing is built in. If you want to have like A/B testing on different branches and stuff, you can just click enable split testing and have it done, and it just does it for you. Forms are automatically built in, and form responses. Netlify functions are built in. The redirects file, again, I think redirects is super powerful. I think the extra things with Netlify is what's important. See, what's Netlify's total size? It's just about 100 people. I was told there would be memes. You know it. Do I enjoy watching anime? Yeah, I actually just finished Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I don't know if that counts, but I very much enjoyed it. I want to take a moment to say that I have a great and welcoming community here. Yeah, me too. I love how great everybody is. Yes, Dan Abramov wrote a great article about use effect. What's the model of my camera? Oh, we talked about it there. Do I have a YouTube channel? This. Do I think having 6 years of professional experience in dev, not having a CS degree is a blocker for your career? No, that sounds like you have enough experience that you need. Yeah, split testing. It's so cool. Vercel's support and pushy sales have been depressing recently. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And that's the approach I'm going to take in responding to that. 1 to 10, how stressful is this much chat to read? 8. Netlify is such a smooth, enjoyable experience. Yeah, I love it. What does it mean to be consistent in social media? To publish every day? Yeah, publish regularly. I mean, I don't post every day, but it's something that it's more about like having a consistent voice. Figure out what your voice is on the internet, use it, and then publish somewhat regularly. You don't have to use it as a complete mind dump and be just like, my day sucked. Just kidding, my day's great. Nobody cares about that. But put your opinions out there. Share an article and say, I really liked this one. That's literally how I started my Twitter. It was just me posting other people's articles and saying I liked it, and then occasionally adding more opinions here and there. And then after a while, you got a voice going. Have I thought about hosting my own podcast? Yes. I don't want to deal with editing, though, so sometime. How to become a meme king or queen? You're born with it. Just kidding. Just start. I should watch Korra too. I know. Would I go penguin sledding with me? Sure. Technically, Atla does... Yeah, I know Avatar doesn't, like... It's not a real anime, but it kind of counts. I love it. I will share my Broadway playlist at some point. Yeah, no, Netlify is not as big as I thought it was. You stepped away from React for a little bit, and I looked back, and there's this hooks thing. Hooks enable functional components. You know what? I'm going to turn this into a lesson on hooks. I'm not going to share because these are what the questions. I'm going to, instead of talking about our Pokemon game that we've been doing the past few weeks, I'll start a whole lesson on there because I love talking about this stuff. Let's see. Have I ever thought about starting a startup? I've thought about it. If I had a good enough idea, I'd totally do it, and I'd hire all of you. Follow up to networking and social media. Does that mean introverts have no... I'm an introvert. I am not good in crowds. But hey, when you talk about development and stuff on the internet, you have a designated topic. That doesn't mean that you have to just kind of talk to everybody about the weather or whatever specific topics. Some of the best developers I know who are very active on social media are very introverted. Almost everybody on my team is introverted, and they're awesome at social media, like Sarah Drasner, Jason Langsdorf, etc. Favorite Pokemon? It's hard to say. I do have Charmander behind me, though, don't I? But I feel like, so my favorite types of Pokemon are like water and flying. I love that combo. I love doing stuff with that. But I really like Charmander, too. Hard to say. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe she's meme bullying. That's incredible. Side projects versus leak code. Side projects, but use leak code to practice answering questions. Does the Netlify hiring process have whiteboard exercises? No. Do I hire outside of the USA? Yes. Do I usually watch anime? Comes and goes. I really like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. That one's probably my favorite. I also liked Death Note, Your Name. What else have I watched? I just watched a big one recently. Why is it escaping me? Hunter x Hunter. That one was great. You shared my stronger case joke with my colleagues, lost my job, but dang, it was worth it. Yay. How do I manage to balance my busy work schedule with my leisure time and hobbies? It's rough. Calendars and forcing myself to get stuff done so I can have fun. Most embarrassing moment at work? Broke prod at Netlify in the first 2 weeks on the job. Happens. Have I seen Fall Guys? I want to play it, but I haven't gotten it yet. Have I seen or played Twilio Quest? Oh my gosh, it's so cool. I'm kind of jealous of the developers learning today because there's so many more resources than when I was learning. Favorite screen grab from the Jason stream earlier this week? Oh man, there are some funny ones. It is great. Okay, what's happening there? I just saw some deleted messages. Whoa. Thanks, Jonesy, for getting those bots. The Jonesy is my mod, and he is awesome. Tom Zors is one of the other mods, but he has a headache today. Favorite screen grab? There are so many good screen grabs from Jason's stream. Learn with Jason if anybody wants to look it up. That's my coworker stream. And we had a thing where it took... we made facial recognition thing where based on the face it would show an emoji. And he just kept going like this, trying to get emojis to show up, and it was very funny. So many things. Twizzlers or Red Vines? I think Twizzlers? I don't know. I'm introverted, but you wouldn't know it because I would never tell you. Ah, so funny. Thank you so much, Jonesy. I appreciate it. True Anime Fan Fest. Have I watched Boku no Pico? No, I haven't seen that one. I'm sorry. We always have a headache. It's called Cassidoo. Whoo. What is a developer experience engineer? A developer experience engineer is an engineer that focuses specifically on the developer experience. So it's kind of like developer relations. I think developer relations came about to improve developer experiences. If your company, for example, a typical company will have user experience. They want their customer experience to be great. Developer-focused companies have developer experiences because there's a user experience like a business person who might be navigating a certain website to do stuff, but our main customers are developers, and so we want to make sure that developers have a good experience. So we build tools for developers, tutorials for developers. We build things in the product that will make a certain experience better. We kind of consult in a way for the product team to say, okay, this should be fixed, this shouldn't be fixed. We're specialists in improving the developer experience via code. Instrument I want to learn most. The cello would be great. So I love the instruments I play. I'm a brass player, and so I've got a trumpet and a euphonium at home. But man, I love the sound of the cello. It's beautiful. And my husband plays piano. He actually was a piano performance major before going into tech. And I kind of want to get better at piano too, but I don't know if I could tolerate him teaching me. Being an introvert and being able to talk about your niche are two different experiences. Yeah, they totally are. Like, it's great. Oh, wait, never watch it. Aha, that's how I've heard of it. Don't trick me. Any more boxes of Switches within reach? No. You know what? Normally there would be, but again, I moved and this is a temporary home. Favorite keyboard Switch? Told ya. Xylence. They're so great. Do I have any dev tutorial videos on Pluralsight? I have a webinar on Pluralsight, and actually I think it is about React hooks. But I don't have a whole course on there. The trick with piano is to find 2 songs that are fun to play. Yeah, for real though. That's what I can tell. Did I lube my Switches? I have lubed the Xylence and the Telios on 2 of my boards. If I mention Xylence one more time, I'll have to order them after all. Xylence. I hope it worked. Oh my gosh, I think I just caught up with everything. That was kind of stressful. And now there's going to be tons. Here we go again. Am I the only one that came here not from memes? I think so. I think most people here came from memes. Someone said check my DMs. Why are you DMing me? What? Stygian Lightning just got me Fall Guys. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much. Wow. Hearts. My heart's so full. Oh, I can't wait to play. Yay. Oh, thank you so much. Wow, so kind. My heart's so full. Why Cassidoo? That was a nickname my mom came up with, actually. She'd be like, howdy do, Cassidoo? Because my name's Cassidy. So, there you go. That's me. You're so great. Thank you so much, Stygian Lightning. I'm about to order the Ergodox successor. Oh yeah, the Moonlander. Everybody's hyping up that Moonlander. It sounds so cool. How often do I do these streams? I do them once a week. I'm thinking about splitting it up. So I'd like your opinions on this, actually. Because typically I answer questions for about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and then I code for like an hour. I was thinking about splitting it up on like Tuesdays and Thursdays, where one of the days is more Q&A and the other day is more codey. But I don't know what you want. So let me know what you think. Or should I just stick with what I'm doing? Am I a fan of BTS? I do like K-pop. I've been listening to Blackpink a lot lately. How often do I get confused with Cassie Evans? There's this one Discord, or this one Slack group that we're in where we get mixed up all the time. Especially because one of my nicknames is Cassie. Like, there's a lot of people who do just call me Cassie instead of Cassidy. And it happens. Send gifts in Pokemon Go. Yes, I don't have... This new place, this is a very first world problem. This new place, I have to walk like 2 blocks to get to a Pokestop, and it's devastating. I used to be able to reach like 3 within my house, and so I don't have as many gifts, but I will send you gifts in Pokemon Go, for sure. On one of them I'd have to resist talking about keyboards, it's true. Have I tried the Kale Thick Gold Switches? I have at Keyboard Meetup, but I haven't owned a board with them. I should sit properly. Bruh, don't tell me how to sit. Silent Skies. Oh, I've heard about the Otemo Silent Skies, but I haven't heard them about like 95% as good as Xylence. I'll be curious. I just started my development career from intern to full-time. Wow! I'm shortly getting demotivated at my workplace. Oh, I'm so sorry. That is a rough feeling. Honestly, keep working hard, and if anything, start interviewing if you want, because then you can start prepping a bit more for those interviews and then have a new job at your year. I do think for your first job you should be there at least a year. I do think that's important, but it is tough with the motivation, especially in a pandemic. Do your tasks. Try to pair program. That actually helps me a lot when I'm struggling with something. I'm just like, oh, somebody, will you code with me for a little bit? And just working with someone is really helpful. Even if it's just remote. Coding streams always end up in chat streams, I know. No real preference for streaming. Thursday evenings are usually the ones where I can tune in. That makes sense. From Colombia, wow. What is my ethnicity? I'm a mutt. Actually, though, I'm quite a mix of different things. I always get Turkish, though. I'm not Turkish, but I get asked if I'm Turkish constantly. Maybe it's the nose. I don't know. But my mom's side is Spanish. My dad's side is a very big mix of things. My mom's side is like Spanish, Mexican, Italian, South American, the Latin stuff. Good beginner recommendation for 3D printing. I do 3D printing. I'm not that good at it though. I don't have any good beginner. Join a Facebook group or something that is about 3D printing. That's really helpful because really it's just asking lots of questions and figuring it out. I talked about cultural differences I experienced at Amazon. I was wondering if I'd get to that question. Amazon, depending on the team, because every team is different, the team that I was on was not great for those who are underrepresented in tech, and it was incredibly political in that I couldn't do my job properly because of how I looked. And I'll leave it at that. It was a very political environment, and I just really didn't like that the fact that one person might like you will determine if you can do your job. That was the part that I hated. Best serious black impression? Harry Potter, our newest celebrity. That's all I've got. I'm amazing and such an inspiration. Thank you. Do I have a mentor? And if you do you find it helpful? Yes, I do. I don't really have a technical mentor as much anymore, but I got one purely by it wasn't even, I don't believe in the whole proposal, will you be my mentor? And it's just happening. It was more just someone asking me questions, or whenever I end up getting a mentee of some kind, it's just kind of a result of people asking me questions, and then we kind of develop a relationship that way. And that's how I've gotten my own mentors in the past too. Like I've emailed them questions because I'm like, you seem to know what you're talking about. Can you help me negotiate a raise and things like that? And then we kind of develop a relationship after asking questions over time. And having someone that you can have as a sounding board for that is so useful. Yeah, Spanish, Mexican, Italian, great combo. It's awesome when, the sun is out and I don't burn. Paranormal experience I've had? I haven't had one that I know of. Oh. What do I code? Everything, but mostly React and JavaScript. I was supposed to help my brother set up a 3D printer and then lock-in happened. That sucks. Light-skinned Hispanic often get confused with Turkish and Lebanese, the Shakira effect. Oh, you know what? I'll take it. I'm going to call it the Shakira effect from now on. I love that. Although my hips are liars, so I don't know if it'll work. Breaking Bad was cool. Let's see. Funniest developer joke. Oh, there's so many good ones. I don't know what the funniest one is. One that always comes to mind when people are like, quick, tell me a joke is... Spider-Man is a web developer. Haha. It's not even that funny anymore because I've heard it so many times, but I do like it a lot. I hope you left a low rating of Amazon on Glassdoor. Yeah, it was one of those things where it's such a big company, especially because their Glassdoor includes warehouse workers and all kinds of stuff. My Glassdoor review wouldn't make a dent. All I can really do is tell people about my personal experience on things like this. How long have I been programming? I've been programming... How old am I? Probably 15 years now? Professionally, not as long. Professionally, I'm not going to count internships or anything, 6 or 7 years. So me asking repeated in-session questions on React on Discord is count as mentoring? Yes, Jonesy, you're my mentee. Idiot. I'm kidding. No, you're not. How do we reconcile with the fact that software engineers are paid so highly compared to a lot of other very important roles in society? It's tough. And the only thing that I can really do is... This is getting into a whole philosophical thing. I am hoping that I can use my position to give back to people in different ways. And granted, in some ways, I can use the cash because I don't just use it for myself. I use it for a lot of other people and things that I won't get into on a public stream like this. But If you're compensated so well and you want to reconcile with it, give back. Whether it be with your time, your money, your efforts, your resources, find a way to give back to other people that can use it, because I feel like that's important. This might be a tough question to answer quickly, but do you have any advice on how to approach team members who knowledge hog? Ooh. I would suggest that you don't go at it by yourself. That you should have multiple people who ask someone different questions, because what happens, there's a thing called a bus factor, sometimes called a bus vector. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's kind of gruesome. If someone on your team were to be hit by a bus, would your team all of a sudden start to fail at something because you don't have the knowledge spread? You want to reduce all bus factors on your team. And so what you should do is have good team documentation. Whenever something is implemented, have some kind of meeting or retro on how it was implemented. Really try to work on that, because you don't want to have something happen where, let's just say it's not a bus, but your teammate just decides to switch jobs. You don't want to be stuck in a position where you don't know your own code base. And if someone wins the lottery, you don't want that. And so you should emphasize to your team that you need to knowledge share and reduce the knowledge hogging as a group. Let's see. Someone I know that worked on Amazon had to work in an office with a broken window through winter in Toronto? That's horrible. Oi, the queen of chaotic energy. Hey-oh, that is me. Do I like to read? Yeah. Hog means like to hoard or to keep all to yourself. I like reading. I talked about books that I like to read earlier. I like dystopian mystery style books. Also, the sun is really coming out now, and so it's just a beam of light. I might have to lower the blinds a little bit. It was so dark earlier. Yes, document it all. Developers do forget things. Yeah, you can't have the rockstar dev just sit in a corner not talking to people. That is not a rockstar dev. That is a loner dev. Yeah, my boss always talks about the bus things. Yeah, you have to be able to share. Am I a part of any developer communities? Yeah, I'd hope so. Many different things. It's hard to say. Yeah, hog also means pig. It comes from the phrase of like a pig eating everything, a hog eating everything. The only comments I have on my code is that's bad. That sucks. I'm going to lower the blinds a little bit because it's getting really bright in here. 1 second. Enjoy Charmander's face. Ah, that's better. Does no one have an auto answer bot? I should. I do have, so by the way, I'm going to put a link in there. github.com/cassidoo/AMA. If you want to ask questions later, I'm working on a repo of just populating it with common questions I get, because I get a lot of the same questions a lot. Let's see, I prefer to call it the shed on the outskirts of town. Did I miss something? Hey, Gareth. Ooh, my voice is kind of tired. I'm not day drinking. I have to keep saying this because this is a red Solo cup. There's tea in this. Because I moved, I don't have my cups, and so I have red Solo cups. And I'm out of tea. I have a can of sparkling water. Staff's in here too. How did I start coding? Jonesy, go to the AMA and you know how I started coding. He's heard that story so many times from being a mod on this and being in my Discord. My favorite activity to relax and de-stress? If I'm being honest, I do just really love watching TV. It's so fun. I'm watching Gilmore Girls for the first time, and it is just delightful. That show is lovely. Don't lie, Cassie. It's tequila. No, I promise. It's just tea. But I also really like playing video games a lot, to the point where it's addictive. And I kind of had to cut myself off from Civ because I was staying up till like 3 a.m. playing when I started playing a few weeks ago. But it's very fun. What happened to Joe? He's allowed to appear, but he's also working right now. So I hear him on a meeting, actually, from across the apartment. Have I worked with the new My Anime List API? No. That GitHub graph, though. Thanks, I try. New side project, create an AMA repo, but run it from... That would be actually fun to have an AI-driven AMA. I would be very curious to see how it answers for me. What do I think of women in tech communities? I think they're great. With a lot of tech communities, guys automatically have people who are like them in that community, and it's different when it's very much like very much like online stuff, but especially when you're walking into a meetup or something, guys already have that community built in because it's there. Like it's very prevalent. And so I think it's very important that there's women in tech communities, non-binary communities, all stuff like that, for people to have a community who don't automatically have one built in for them, and to be able to find people who are like them. I think that's very important. That was with regards to Deb in the corner. Oh yeah. If I'm enjoying Gilmore Girls, Mrs. Maisel, I love Mrs. Maisel. It is great. And also it's weird because I saw Mrs. Maisel first and now I'm watching Gilmore Girls. And it's fun because there's some like recurring characters, and you can see that like the director, producer, whatever, she's reusing characters. And I just realized that last night that Paris from Gilmore Girls is the lady bass player in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and it kind of blew my mind. But I love the fast talking and the banter. It's so fun. Have I played the new Borderlands? I haven't. I saw that they have a skin on Fortnite, though, for it. The aesthetic choices of this stream are very on brand. Thanks. I just, I made the confetti thing by just clicking a bunch of colors. There's probably a faster way to do that. Last of Us Part 2 was a movie. Great game. Oh, I'm kind of afraid of Part 2. Hello, Hunting Hagrid. I loved Last of Us Part 1. It was great. I'm afraid of Last of Us Part 2 because everybody's just talked about how it kind of destroys your emotions. And my emotions are already, like, on edge with this whole pandemic thing. And so I'm nervous to start Part 2. But I probably will. Again, because we moved, I don't know how many times I have to say it, our PlayStation is packed away and stuff, and so when we are more settled in a new place, Last of Us, we're probably gonna play it. You should watch Fleabag. That one looks fun. That one looks really, really fun. I can't watch Prime Video. Oh, the ads. Favorite hot pot place? Oh, so there's not a lot in Seattle, sadly. I think I've been to one really good hot pot place in Seattle, and the name is escaping me. In New York, there's one called 99 Favor Taste. My mouth is watering thinking about it. It's so good. And you can make your own sauces and stuff. Oh, it's great. And then there's one in Chicago. I think it's called YY Hot Pot. And I think it's near the University of Chicago. But oh my gosh, wow, I really want hot pot now. I haven't had that in so long. It's such like a communal eating thing, so, you have to eat it kind of outdoors. I guess you don't have to, but I don't have a big pot. Anyway, I love hot pot, so good. Although Boiling Point is pretty good. It's like pre-made hot pot. Portillo's or Chicago-style pizza? Both? Can I have both, please? Otherwise, I guess if I had to choose, probably Portillo's, but it hurts me to pick one of them. Man, everyone's talking about Fleabag. Okay, I'll watch it. I'm surprised there aren't a lot of hot pots in Seattle. Yeah, Seattle, it has some hot pot places, but none that, like, blow my mind. They have a ton more, like, Thai food and Vietnamese food. Is this my new place? It's our temporary apartment. It's fine. You know what? I'm going to get into it. This place, when we moved in, we're subletting it from someone, and they didn't clean it beforehand. It was so gross. I can't emphasize enough how gross it was. We had to end up getting professional cleaners to clean it because, like, I was just like, ugh. It was like to the point where there was black mold in every room, on every windowsill, in every corner. Each bathroom was disgusting, like super gross. So anyway, we got it professionally cleaned, and now I like it. But it's also temporary because I don't want to stay here, honestly. That was a very turn-off experience. Did I ever find my way to Gene and Jude's in Chicago? No, but I'll have to try it. Yeah, I know. Vietnamese. Yeah, I love banh mi. Banh mi is so good. The one thing, though, I have that cilantro gene where, like, cilantro tastes like soap to me, and I just hate it. I've tried to love cilantro. I really have, because it's in so much cooking that I like. I like in Mexican food and all kinds of stuff, and I can't. And so I really have to be careful about banh mi because sometimes they go ham on the cilantro, and then I just don't get to enjoy it as much. And then when I say no cilantro, they kind of look at you like, but this is a staple. And yeah, sadly. Um, yeah, I can just pick them out, but the flavors there, like I do honestly, like even in Chipotle, like Chipotle rice has cilantro in it. I eat it anyway, and I kind of pick it out, but bleh. If you eat soap, does it taste like cilantro? Yes. I actually, one time I went to a conference last year, and the hotel had cilantro shampoo, and I was just like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but okay. And I used it, and it smelled incredible. And I was like, is this smell what people taste? Because if so, oh my gosh, I am missing out on how incredible cilantro is, because it was a nice shampoo. I wish I remembered the brand. Um, I have the gene that makes cilantro taste like soap. It's very sad. It's a deep tragic flaw that I have. Am I coding for you today? I can. I wasn't sure if people wanted me to, but I can. I was thinking about instead of doing our Pokemon game, I have that set up, but maybe I'll do a little React hooks lesson because it sounds like a few people might be interested in that. Do you want me to do that now? Does anybody have any other questions before we move on? I want to do this for you. Hello, am I making keyboards? Not now, but I will. Code it up. All right. Let's talk about hooks. Okay. Then in that case, let me switch to my screen. Huh. So we have this Pokemon game. I'm going to not use it. I'm going to open up a new window here. And I'm going to make a new project. Should I update? I'll update later. What I'll do is I'll set up a new React project and just go from the ground up and talk hooks. I can't actually expand the window because the color scheme is making me mad. Okay, let me do this. Let me do this. Okay, oh my gosh. Ugh. Okay, so yeah, we're going to be moving to coding. We'll be talking about React hooks. Which Pokemon game do I have? This is our Pokemon game, and actually I'll share a link to it, and this is what we have been building over the past few weeks, where if you click start, then you can do like Bulbasaur. Oh, oops, I clicked I'm done instead of playing. But Pikachu, and then when you hit enter, the sprite comes up, and then you get a score at the end. Also, the music is very loud, and I need to fix that. But anyway, that's the game. Yeah, use Windows left arrow. I know, I wanted to have it like only partially showing, but anyway, there it is. Let's make a new one. I'm going to open up a shell actually and start a new one here. Let me cd into documents in GitHub. In here, I'm going to do npx create react app. What do you want me to call it? I'll call it stream hooks demo, and then I'll push it live on GitHub after that. So I'll let that go first and install. About Windows, yeah, I used to not have good experiences, but ever since just the latest updates on everything in Windows 10 and stuff, I've liked it significantly more. I did not like Windows doing web dev on Windows for a really long time, but I've really liked it a lot better. Node is really good on Linux. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, sorry about the sound on the Pokemon game. By increment x. Slowly but surely. Sorry, I probably should have prepared for this, but doing it live. Yeah, so I'll talk about React hooks. It should be fun. I haven't talked about React hooks in a little bit. I'm gonna take off all the rings so that way I can code with the speed of 1,000 horses. I don't know. Okay, initializing the Git repo. Blah blah blah. Oh, this is taking longer than usual. Let's see. New Windows terminal is great. Yeah, it's much better. What's the biggest difference between deving on Mac versus Windows? Now, there's less of a difference, especially with some of the tools that are available today. But the biggest difference is there's more native stuff for Mac, I think. But again, that's improving, so it's hard to say fully for sure. Okay, we got our app.js. All right. And now I'm going to open up the console and run it. I forget the command for opening up the console. Console, terminal, all that. npm start. I think so. Let's see. To use React testing library with just test your React hooks normally? Yeah, pretty much. React 1,000 horses will all run roughly the same pace. No, they're like exponentially added on top of each other. It's a weird horse. You wouldn't get it. Yeah, quite a few people have switched back to Windows, and it's interesting. And honestly, I've really liked it. Like, especially when I was in between jobs because of the pandemic, I was working exclusively on my PC desktop, and I really liked it. I know your memories of Windows won't let you give it another try. It was something I had to work over, and now it's really nice and smooth. I couldn't care less about Apple platforms after they treat devs. Yeah, for sure. When did you switch to Windows? I stream on a Windows machine, so this is all Windows. Yeah, so many hardware savings on Windows. Yeah, especially like this desktop, for example. I got a new motherboard that was able to support some more extra things, and instead of having to buy an entirely new computer, I could just plop it in. It's great. So anyway, we're going to be talking about React hooks. Oh, I could go so deep on this, and so I have to really like be careful about scope creep here. So let's see, I'm gonna take this out. I'm gonna take out the logo. I'm gonna take out this app link. I'm gonna take out the app header. I'm just gonna say hey. Save it. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, we got a nice little hey in there. Okay, so we're going to see how this one goes. So, is there anyone who hasn't used React hooks at all before? I can go all the way to the beginning if you want me to. Why buy a souped up window machine for $5K when you can buy a Mac Pro for 40 grand? Nice. Ooh, there's a lot of people who haven't used it. Great. Okay, so typically when you see some kind of React thing, I'll just do class something extends react.component. And then in there you have a constructor, and then inside of there you have super, and then you have to render something, and then you could render div that says poop, and then you'll have, so typically like this is what a class basic thing would be, and then you might say like component or did mount, and then as soon as a component mounts or whatever, you can say like I want to call an API or something. This is typically how a class-based component is structured. The reason why hooks became a thing were to push function-based components, and typically before, function-based components were just called functional components that were stateless. And with stateless components, they just couldn't have a state, where normally you would have a this.state, and it's some object in here. I'll make it a counter, let's just say. The count is 0, and then if you wanted to have this.state.count, and then you could have different functions that are calling this and updating state, and it would have, let's just say, increment. In here, you would do this.set state, and then it would be like count equals count plus 1. Let's just say you did something like that. Yeah, I'm really going from the beginning. So this is typically how it was done, and so if you ever called increment, it would increase that count state. And with class components, this is how state worked, where it was an object that kind of persisted inside of this class-based component. In function components, it's completely different. And so I am actually going to just comment this out, and I'm going to minimize it. And we're going to talk about state in these kind of components now. Now, if I wanted to make a state variable in a function component, I would do let count and set count is equal to, oh, I need to import it. Use state from React. And then use state, the initial state of that count would be 0. And then in here, if I were to turn this into count and save it, then we would have 0 appear there. And then if I want to increase it or decrease it, I could make some buttons that do that. I'll do that really quick. And I could have a button, and then that says add, and then I'll have a little function increment, just like we'd had up there. Increment is equal to a function in here that does set count is equal to count plus 1, like that. And so if I were to save that and then run it and click add, what's happening? Oh, I'm not actually calling it. That'll do it. On click is equal to increment, like that. Now, there we go. We got an increment. So that's a similar equivalent if I were to add a button in this class-based component. So this is the whole base of it. Let me make sure there's not any questions on there. Whatever. Okay. Anyway, this is just chatter. Okay. So the way state works in a function component is completely different from a class component. And you're right. There's no this.state.count. It's just the count variable that is declared inside of here. With this, the something component is a class object that has a property of state that you manipulate. With this one, it's a function, exit out of that. With this one, it's a function that is called repeatedly. And so let's just say that we have, oh, go away, you stop it. Let's just say I am React for a second. What we would want to do is if we were React, let's just say, I'm going to say that we're going to have an element is going to be equal to app. And then when element is created, then we create a virtual DOM, create DOM, let's just say, and we're going to be adding element to that. And so this is just pretend that I'm React, and this is how that works. Then once the DOM is created and the element is added to the page, now old element is equal to that element. Old element is now equal to app. Then whenever some state change happens, then we update DOM with a diff, and again, this is pseudocoding, of the old element and then the new element with like a state change or whatever. And so it only commits the diff between the two of those, and that's how the virtual DOM works. I'm sure you understand that. But what's happening is that instead of persisting an element over time, like we did with a class-based component, so when you update state, it's an async call, so the state change happens and then you can use a callback to update the state. Instead of it being an object that is updated over time, it's actually just saying app, and then app, and then app, just with a new state every single time. It's recalling the function every single time. And that's the main difference between class-based components and function components. It's recalling it every single time, and so it has its own state object that is recreated, but there's like a global state array of what the states should be, and that is the thing that ends up being updated over time. So it's not a state value that's persisted, it's something that is just recalled every single time. So that being said, whenever you call set count, you don't have to have some kind of second parameter in here where you do stuff with it, because it's just calling app entirely over again with this new state value. And so instead of it being started at 0, it started with count plus 1. Does that make sense on the difference between the two of those? Maybe dumb question, isn't this slower? No, it's actually faster, and I won't get too into that right now, but long story short, no. The React team has done a lot of performance enhancements to make this better, actually, rather than maintaining something over time, it seems like it's more performant to have just something that you update over time. But this way, it's actually a lot more lean to be able to do it this way. Does this get called repeatedly or only when values are updated? That's what's cool about it. React is very, very smart in that sense, where let's just say I had an error state, like let error and then set error, and then the initial state of error is null. Use state of null. If I were to do like set error to null in here every single time I click increment, this actually is never called because it sees the difference between what the state currently is and what you're trying to set it to. And it does a lot of memoization, which isn't just memorization in a baby voice, memoization as in performant based checking to make sure that it's more performant in that way. And this is actually where React is going. You should pretty much never use class-based components if you can. The perf thing is really cool, especially if you look at functions called use memo and use callback. They're really, really great for that. I actually have, let me see. I wonder if I can pull it up. So I have a course on Scrimba, and if you'd like to take it, you should. But because I have it here, I can pull up the lesson that I taught. There's a great lesson, if I don't mind calling myself that, where I actually implement use state from the ground up. I basically just did all of the stuff that I just did in front of you, but in the course. But I go into a little bit more detail where I actually implement use state from the ground up. And I'm just going to copy that code actually really quick to show you how that works. Little preview of the course if you'd like to try it yourself. What? No, don't close it. There. Okay. Cool. Exiting out of this. So this is, I basically talk about how to implement use state in that course. And so I'm not going to get too into it right now, but if I wanted to kill off this use state up here and use my phony use state, this should work. Oh, re-render. Oh, you know what? I won't get into it right now because that's a whole other animal. But what happens in that course is I talk about how setting the different values and stuff and comparing things with the existing states, basically you can create use state from the ground up, and it's a lot smarter and more performant. The fact that this is basically the use state code, it's kind of a dummier version because it doesn't take into account nested components or anything. The fact that this is about the size of how use state works is a very good picture of how performant function-based components and hooks are when it comes to state. I'm going to bring everything back. Let me get rid of that and do this and get rid of that. Okay, cool. Anyway, let's see. You're confused about use callback? I don't have time to get into it, but I will get into it another time. I really want to do that course, trying to get my workplace to pay for it. I think I could potentially get everyone here a 50% off coupon. I'd have to check. DM me if you do want the course, and I'll ask them if I can get coupons. That's the one. I love Scrimba. They were a really useful thing. But I don't usually get coupons. Like when I was teaching on Udemy, for example, I didn't like Udemy as much, but I was able to give coupons away willy-nilly. I don't get to do that with Scrimba as much. So I will try, but I don't know if it'll work because it's past the promo period. Thank you for already buying it. I can't promise anything, but I can try. I'm sorry. If this ends up being an empty promise, I'm sorry, but I will try. There should be an ad placement for our course. Ooh, have fun playing Fall Guys. See you later. Anyway, okay, so we talked about state. Great. I'm going to take out this error thing. That's how use state works. I will now talk about use effect, because I think use effect is something that is incredibly important. I'm going to cut this one out, and I might have to uncomment out things to talk about this a little bit more. Use effect. So, a use effect is a side effect. Do I prefer DMs on Twitch, Twitter, or elsewhere? Twitter or Discord. Which again, if you would like to join my Discord, I have it on Patreon and it connects and stuff, and it's a lovely little community there. So, use effect. A use effect is a side effect, and a side effect is something that happens that doesn't necessarily affect if something is rendered or not. And so, for example, if I were to have some function add, and then in that add I would return x plus y, and then it would take in x and y like that. If I wanted to add a side effect to this, I would do let z equals 10, let's just say, and then inside of here I would say z equals x plus 10 or something. This right here is a side effect. This is something that just happens on the side of whenever add is called. It has nothing to do with x plus y, it's just something that happens. And so that's what an effect is right here. Oh, thank you, Raphael. Yes, it's a lovely community. Everyone there is lovely, for the most part. So with the React lifecycle, in a class-based component, you have component did mount, which when a component is about to mount, it then renders onto the page. And then once it has been rendered, component did mount is the thing that is called right after it's rendered. And then if you want to update something, you could have a component should update, and then it takes in previous props and does a whole thing on like, should the component update, etc. And that's how it does. And then it's like component will unmount, and that's when the component is going away. And so you need to implement all of these functions to be able to use the lifecycle of React, where again it mounts on the page and is rendered, it updates, and it goes away and is unmounted. Those are the lifecycle parts. With use effect, you can do all of these functions and more within just one function. And it's very powerful, but at the same time is very confusing if you don't know how to do it. And so I will show you how to do it. Let me comment this out and show you with use effect. So will I write some Haskell code? I will not. Haskell's cool though. So with use effect, let's just say that in this app we have right here, we want to update the title of the page. What I can do is I can do a use effect right in here, and oops, I totally did that wrong. Use effect, and then inside of this use effect we have a function, and this is the effect function. And I can do document.title is equal to the count is, and then have plus count like that. And so in this title right here, it says the count is 0, and I know that is very small, and I'm sorry, and I don't know how to expand that right now, but it says the count is 0. And then as I click the numbers, the title is increasing as well, and so the count is now 7 right here. And this is a little effect, that's what happens. When an effect is called, it happens right when the component has mounted. And so the effect is called on mount. Whenever this function is called, render is called, and then that's right when the function is called. Now, if you want it to be called again, for example, like in this component should update, by just defining use effect, it works. Yeah, right here. You import it at the top, and then you can just call it like that. That's how it works. And so let's just say you want it to be called multiple times for various reasons. Let's just say we have this component should update. What we can do is the second parameter of use effect, the first one is the effect function that runs. The second parameter is an array right in here. And this array is called a dependency array. Dependency array. And in this dependency array, it is all of the variables that it's dependent on to stay in sync with. And so, for example, right now, when I have an empty dependency array, that means that it's not dependent on anything. That means it is only going to run on mount. And so if I refresh the page and I click +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it still says the count is 0 at the top because that's what the state was of the app when it was rendered on the page, because this dependency array is empty. So when it's empty, that means that it's only run on mount. But if I populate it, for example, if I put count inside of here, now this will be called onMount and whenever count is updated. And so if I put a variable in here, then it's rendered on, or it's called onMount and whenever variable is updated. Like that. I'm gonna put that on another line so it's easier to see. Whenever variable is updated. And so now, when I run this and click this, now the title is updating because it's staying in sync with count. And then, if you get rid of this entirely, if I were to just do that, as you can see, it still works. When you have no dependency array whatever, so no array, then that means it's called onMount and then whenever state changes. So whenever state changes whatsoever is when useEffect is called. And sometimes that's useful. It's rare that that's useful. Usually you want it to stay in sync with one or two variables inside of here. You can call it as many times as you want. It just stays in sync with that. And typically the variable inside of here is a variable that either is state or it uses state or it affects state. And so for example, let's just say I have a variable let new title equals count or something, or not even count. I'll say I'll have this whole amount right in here. I'll do the new count is blank, and then if I did new title like that, then I don't need to depend on count, I can depend on new title. And then let's just say I wanted to do new title and then this whole thing, but then I want to do like dot substring, which doesn't really make sense, but let's just say like once it gets past a certain length, I don't want to update it. That's when you can put new title in there and then it's not using the count variable, if that makes sense. I'm gonna cut out this new title part. Does that make sense? Are there any more questions on that? This is, and look how short this is. Normally, if you were to do that, you would have to include stuff in all of these different, all of those different functions. And there's also one more thing for the component will unmount. The return value of this right here is what is happen on unmount. So you return a function inside of here and then unmounting. Whatever is inside of here is what you should call when you want to unmount the component or whenever you want to refresh something. Like let's just say you want to cancel out a fetch call or something or a state change whenever something particular changes. That's what happens. This is the unmount part. And so you're able to have all of these lifecycle methods all within this whole thing where you have your function content, your unmounting stuff, and your dependency array on what you want to sync with. Let's see, there's a few other questions. Yes, it's super performant. How's the new title different from the use state variables? It was just an example of something that uses state. I could probably do a better example than that. When your useEffect is dependent on an array, is that considered bad practice because it'll change in every render? It isn't dependent on the entire array. It's dependent on the variables within the array. That's a good question. And then also there's you can make custom hooks out of this too. And so let's just say, and a hook is just a function that wraps a React hook. And so if I were to say function use document title like this, I could put all of this in here. And I'll put these comments in there too, and I'm gonna comment all of this out. I can put all of this in here and pass in count. And then I could do use document title with count like this, and it'll just work. And I think that is the coolest part because all of a sudden you can compose and encapsulate hooks and logic just as much as you can components. Because now, if you, by the way, if you want to get the color theme, do !editor instead, because that's where I put it there, sorry. And so normally before, if you wanted to have like this kind of use effect stuff, you would have some function that you would have to declare inside a component did mount and have to declare inside a component should update or something. But now because you can have this kind of logic, think about it like business logic and stuff outside of here, I could have a whole hooks file or a whole hooks folder of things like this outside of it. And anytime I want to have an updating use document title thing, I can just do it and import it and it'll work. And it's something that our different function components can use. And I think that's so powerful and really, really cool. Let's see. Is it a problem to save similar references in several dictionaries which allow searching? Save similar references in several dictionaries which allow different searching? Or is it more interesting to use dictionary functions to search inside? I'm not entirely sure what you're asking. I'm sorry. Could you please rephrase your question? Yes, I have Xylence, I have Telios on a different keyboard. You can send me use effect code that you don't understand. I will happily take a look at it. But does this make sense? Are there any questions on use effect, on how I explained it? Is there anything that you want to understand a little bit better? I've found when I'm using custom hooks, sometimes I'm using them to abstract big chunks of logic out of parent components. Should custom hooks be as reusable as possible? I think so, yes. I actually, if I go to gist.github.com, I love making really, really generic custom hooks. And let's see, I have one that I made somewhat recently, use promise. What this does is it combines the power of, here I'll paste it in the chat. It combines the power of use reducer and use effect to make a little state machine for APIs. And I think that something like this is just the power of how composable components are. Let's see. Real-time examples for the dependency array. Yeah, you can have as many use effects as you want in a component. Like I could put a use effect down here. You can have as many as you want. Where can I learn React? Well, hey, if you genuinely want a shameless plug, on Scrimba, I have a React course. Hey, it's on the homepage. If you click Building Reusable React, that's my React course on there. Let's see. What is a hook without using the word hook? It is a function that wraps React functions that are exported by React itself. Let's see, CPU stuff. Var cell. Okay, what is that? ID equals home position. I am not entirely sure what you're trying to find. I'm sorry that's not helpful. Thank you all for following. This is fun. What's I gonna say? Coding, am I right? Are there any other questions on use effect and how that works? Let's see, why create a new function in case of it? Oh yeah, so that's a good question. You can't do like async await on this outer function right here in use effect because it has to be an immediately invocable function. But what you can do is you can have a function inside of here where you do your async work. Otherwise, I typically use promises inside of there, but this has to be an immediately invocable function. I would get into how it's structured in React, take my Scrimba course where I use it a bunch more, but this has to be something that can be like placed on a stack within the React underbelly and be able to be called repeatedly. You can do async stuff on the inside, yes, but the actual function definition itself has to be an immediately invocable function. Oh yeah, share a link to the course. Yeah, I probably should have done that. Building reusable React, that one. I think that's the right one. Let me do it in incognito. Yes, that. Here it is. When the opponents start to get busy with use effects, is there any way to combat that? or to structure for the readability, any tips that are appreciated. So for readability, that's where you use custom hooks. Put them all in separate things, and even if it means that you have use document title, use Pokemon API, use whatever, I don't know. Like, if you have a bunch of these instead of a bunch of use effects in a row, that's much cleaner, and that's probably the best way for readability. And also try to see how you can break up your components more, so that way you don't have so much responsibility inside of one component and it's kind of distributed amongst other components. Can you add a function inside a dependency array? Yes, you can. Typically, like, I don't know, let's just say you had something like a function that was like fire lasers, and inside that function you told React to update the count in a certain way, then you could put fire lasers right here. Yeah, that's totally allowed. You can put functions inside of there. Can I do this with use promise? Oh, with that hook that I showed, you can. You might have to put in a use callback depending on how your code is structured, but yes, you can put a fetch inside of there. Do custom hooks have to start with use, or is that just a convention? It's just a convention. Typically, to show that it's a hook, you do use. Some people call them usies, because it's something that is calling a React hook, and all of the React hooks start with use. You're the girl from the funny Twitter videos. Hey, hello. No, the code, the link is censored. You can either DM it on Twitter or like add spaces or something so we can see it. Can I explain use callback? Yes. How do I? Okay, let's just say we have some function. I'll do const some function, and inside of there we have, I'm just gonna say something expensive, something that's really performant, or not performant, like it's heavy, it's something that you have to call every single time. Inside of this function right here, let's just say, like, as props change, the different props that change can affect certain things, and then some function ends up being called a ton of times. If you want to make sure that some function is only called when something expensive has to be changed, then what you can do is you can wrap it in something called use memo, and I'll get to use callback in a second. When you put it inside use memo is a lot like use effect, except it has a return value. You can have a dependency array, and let's just say it's props dot something that changed or whatever. When you do this, that means that the function inside of here that's really expensive will only be called if something that changed is called. And so there's always a value inside of that sum function, or some function return value rather. You'll always have that value because it's called the first time, but whenever those things change, this function isn't called as many times. It does an extra diff for you, so that way you don't have that expensive things. And then let's just say that the return value right now, the return value is so some variable, something like this. What if your return value ends up being a function? Then sometimes what that looks like, it ends up being really funky because it ends up being something like this, a use memo with two of these. And so use callback is just syntactic sugar on top of use memo, so you don't have the two functions in a row there. That's what that is. There's use memo, and then if you want it, it's use callback if you want to take out that second thing so you don't have this like little beak thing going on. And so use callback is something that you use when you want to call something again, or use memo is something when you want to call something again, but you don't want to do it in a non-performant way where it gets really expensive performance-wise. Does that make sense? Should we update state like this with the arrow function or the thing? You can do either one. You could totally do count. Yeah, you can do either one. I typically just do one of these because I think it's cleaner, but you can do either way. Use callback returns a value too. Use callback returns a function. Yeah. You have to go work in the morning. Yes, this will be saved on my Twitch. I'm actually going to sign off soon at 2:30 my time, so in 8 minutes. But I'll publish it to YouTube as well. What's a good way to learn coding standards? My concern is learning is not having the lingo in place if I ever want to make my way into the code programming workforce. Classes and tutorials, honestly, it's hard to say. When I teach things, and I'm like, again, when on my Scrimba course, for example, a whole chunk of the lessons are just making sure that you have the right vocabulary set up, so that way you know the right lingo. And I try to teach you as best practices as possible. And all the teachers there, all the teachers and all the different things teach you in the way that they think is the best practice. It's kind of hard to say who knows the best because there's a lot of opinions in the world, which is hard to say. But I try to teach the best practices that I know how. Let's see. I know, so many shameless plugs. I'm sorry. That's when there's questions like this, I'm just like, I've already answered them somewhere else. What do you think about wrapping increment in a use callback? I could, but it's not necessary because it's just a state change. If I were doing some massive calculation inside of here in addition to setting the count, then yeah, I could wrap it in something like that. Are any of my courses for beginners? Mine... So mine is more like intermediate level. I think they list it as advanced level. It's more intermediate level. I know that they actually have like the front-end developer path on Scrimba where you can take like beginners courses and then graduate to the more advanced courses. If this stuff makes sense to you, you can take my course, no problem. Because I do try to teach from the ground up, and some parts might be fast, but it does go from the ground up for sure. Okay, you're sending me a bit.ly link. I'm copying it. I'm putting it in another tab first because I've been burned before. That doesn't point to anything on my end. Oh wait, that's because I have the space. That's my bad. 1 second. Okay, this is code. Let's look at it together. Let's see, you assumed it was going to be a Rickroll. I know. I actually have one of my Zoom backgrounds is a QR code, and it's a QR code that's a link to a Rickroll, and it's so satisfying to get my coworkers with that. Okay, so we have 2 use effects in here. One of them, it gets a list of tweets, and then it sets tweets based on that. It looks like it gets stuff from props.newtweets. Okay, and then this one, it's loading different tweets. If the tweets did not set, then it does all of these things. Also, if this is a Boolean, you could do an exclamation point here instead of == false. Okay, so what is your question on this? Sorry, I'll zoom in. What is your question about this code? I don't know how to answer this. Let's see if final length is tweet. It looks like it's just populating tweets from props. Oh, it looks like you're waiting for, so you initialize the tweets with a blank array, and then once you have that done, then you either populate the tweets based on tweets that have been coming in from props. Otherwise, if the tweets weren't set, then you have some kind of error, and so it doesn't show the tweets. Why is he using 2 use effects instead of 1? I don't know. You could definitely do this in 1. It looks like they're keeping in sync with different stuff, though. They're paying attention to tweets did set instead of the tweets and tweets init. This technically could be done in 1. I would clean this up in a few different ways. But yeah. They should use a linter, correct. There's a few things that could be cleaned up on this one. So yeah, basically this first one is if there are tweets to be taken in, then it sets the tweets so that way you can see all of them, and then it returns an array of tweets, tweets.map, and populates a bunch of them. That's funky how they're doing it this way. I would clean this up in a few different ways, but I won't get too into it. And then this one is if the tweets don't exist, then it throws an error. Yeah, and then my callback is saying either it's an error or it's something that's in the, I wonder why they're wrapping that in the callback. Interesting. I'm sure there's more parts of the code base that I'm just not seeing it. I usually use a different use effect call for different functions, like a separation of concerns. Yeah, again, like use document title would be a very, very small hook, but it's good that it's its own separate thing because it's something that doesn't do anything else, and then you can just have multiple of them. What is load tweets my callback? I don't know. I don't know where this load tweets came from. Oh, it looks like, I bet that's an API call of some kind, I guess. And so if it does that, then that means it's getting, why did they do it that way? So it's loading tweets with a function, and that function sets state. And so they're setting state from somewhere else. It's a funky organization technique. Yeah, it looks like they're trying to load tweets if there are no new ones. Yeah, and so, again, I would probably do this in a different way. But it looks like they have the two use effects for the different separation of concerns there. And it's organized in a funky way. I mean, if it works, it works, but I don't know if I would have written it like that. I just noticed the time. I'm going to exit out of this. Wah! And then I'm going to switch to the regular thingy. Hey, hello friends. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if it was. Do I cover all this hook stuff in my course? Yes, I cover it in a lot more detail actually. With this thing that I just coded up, would it be helpful for me to push that to GitHub, or was it just like something that's good to see and you can just watch the video later? Let me know if you want me to push it to GitHub and I will, otherwise I don't have to. Yay, oh, I'm so glad you learned a lot today. It's a toss-up again if I want to do two separate ones where it's like all chat on one and all code on another, but I'm glad that it was useful. Yay, I'm so glad that it's helpful. Woohoo. Let me know if you would like me to push this to GitHub. I can, otherwise it's, again, you can go onto my course or something else. Don't think it needs to be pushed if there's a VOD. Nice. Yay, thanks. And sorry about all the shameless plugs. I wouldn't normally push it so much if it weren't for the fact that you were answering questions. Where's the sub button? I'm not affiliate yet, but if you would like to join my Patreon, do that. I work at Netlify. Netlify is great. I'm so glad that it was informative. Yeah, Netlify, it's a place where you can host your websites for free, and then we actually came out with new pricing recently, so that way you can do more for less, which I'm very excited about. But thanks, Scrabbill. I will promote my work. I need to get better at it. I'm not good at just saying, look at my stuff, but the course I think is really helpful to share with people. Cool. Well, thank you all so much for hanging out. I had a really good time. I hope you did too. I did post the link to my Patreon if you would like to join in. We've got a very, very active Discord. Watch out for your notifications, but very fun people. And yeah, I assume next week we're going to be back on the Next.js Pokemon game trend. Have I thought about work for Fang? I've worked for one of them and never again. No, I'm sorry you came too late. Next time, for sure. This was a very, very busy stream, and I had a very fun time chatting with you all. Let me know any feedback you have, even if it means that why never again. I talked about it earlier. The culture wasn't for me. But I do announce on Twitter before streaming. I announced a half hour before streaming and then right when I started. So you should have seen the tweet if you get notifications, but it's okay. If you have any feedback on my streams, please let me know. If you want to leave it here, if you want to DM me on Twitter or mention me on Twitter, let me know, and I'll be very happy to take in your feedback and change stuff as I might. Cool. Well, thank you all so much for coming. Bye. I'm gonna raid another channel. I'm not sure which one yet, but there's some good ones that are open up, so I'm gonna raid another channel right now. So hang on tight. It was very, very fun hanging, friends. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Bye.